Hello, everybody. Yes, it's been a while. It's been almost 2 whole months since my last episode, but I'm back. I'm here. There's a lot new changes coming to the podcast. We got a new logo now. We got a new intro, which you're gonna hear in just a second. All podcast episodes now will be have a video and an audio broadcast, and hopefully that's all off the top of my head what changes are. So today, in today's episode, I'm going to be joined by Joey Orsborn, where we'll discuss some interesting roster moves in the first segment. We'll look at what players do we think the Penguins can be targeting at the trade deadline, and lastly, we will look at the game preview between the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Tampa Bay Lightning, and that is all coming up right after this intro.
Oh, slap me, silly sissy.
Hey, hockey fans, this is the Yinzers at the Point podcast, hosted by me, Tyler Aaron.
Oh, save my face with a rusty razor. Oh, Murphy and the fans are smiling like a butcher's dog.
The Yinzers at the Point podcast gives you news, updates, and some fun topics about your Pittsburgh Penguins.
Oh, let's go hunt moose on a Harley. Oh, slap my back with a hacksaw.
Are Yins ready? Then sit back, relax, and listen to the Yinzers at the Point podcast.
And he beats Theodore like a rated mule. Ladies and gentlemen, you got it. Elvis has just left the building.
Alright, welcome back to this episode. Here I am joined by Joey Orsborn. Joey, how you doing?
Not the best right now, thanks to these Penguins. How about you, Tyler?
I'm doing great, and boy, it's been some chaos these last few days in the NHL. It's just trade after trade. It's like the NHL told all the GMs, hey, the trade deadline was yesterday or today, even though it's, 40 some hours away now, the trades have been absolutely going crazy.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with this deal, but they must have put them on steroids or something. I don't know what's up with all this stuff, but it's craziness, really.
Yeah, so here's the first trade we're going to discuss now, where the Penguins shed some cap here and send centerman Teddy Bluger to the Vegas Golden Knights for defensive prospect Peter DeLaborator. Hope I said that right. And a 2024 third-round draft pick. So I guess the Penguins, they shed $2.2 million off their cap, and they get a decent defensive prospect and a third-round pick. I mean, easily probably the better of the two trades that the Penguins made today. Joey,
the other one's a nightmare. We'll get into that, though. But, yeah, no, I like the return for Bluger. I'm surprised they got a third-round pick. The defenseman seems like he's an okay player as well, so we'll have to wait and see what all exactly he can do. He'll probably be playing, of course, in Wilkes-Barre. I don't expect him to ever really get called up. But, yeah, he seems like a decent defenseman. Third-round pick, I'm surprised they got that for Bluger due to his production this year being down a lot. But, yeah, no, definitely a good haul from the Penguins, and I'm surprised Vegas really gave up that much. But, especially for a guy like Bluger. Tyler, your thoughts?
Yeah, I was surprised, too, about the deal. Like, really? They're trading us a third and a prospect? I mean, I'm not going to complain. I mean, definitely the Penguins have tried to move on from Bluger. Like I've said before on the podcast, the Jeff Petrie trade, the original trade offer was Pettersson and Bluger for Petrie and Paling. So, I mean, the Penguins were going to move on. He was a pending UFA. He was going to leave. It was smart. And just this season alone, in 45 games played, 2 goals, 8 assists, 10 points, a -7 plus-minus rating. In all 250 games of his career with the Penguins, total of only 33 goals, 59 points, 59 assists, 92 points, and a plus-minus of +24. He was a decent penalty killer. He was extremely fast, and I think that's all what the Penguins are going to lose out of this deal. But, again, you were going to move on from him. It was definitely smart to ship him off the way you did, and I'm surprised Vegas bit the bullet on it.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's a little surprising as that is what they paid. But what they get in Bluger is a good speed guy. I think used correctly, he could be a good player. I think this year the main part of the Penguins is a Oh, it's clearly Juan Hextall. He's getting players that don't fit Sullivan's system. So now the ones that fit Sullivan's system are not playing as well as they should be. Like, a lot of Blue Ghost line mates probably, if you, like, go off, like, the system, they probably shouldn't be in that system, but they were. And that is kind of the one problem I see of Blue Ghost this year. And same thing with Captain, I thought, too, is, like he fits in Sullivan's system, but what Hextall got to pair with him doesn't really fit, if you know what I mean. Like, there's all the players on that team you could say that for. I think Kapanen was one of the big ones, and Bluger was the other big one, you could say. They fit in Sully's system, but what Hextall went out and got to pair with them just didn't fit, and it made them play worse than what they actually are, in my opinion.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, Bluger, just in the last year alone, too, has 2 goals in the last year, I'm pretty sure. And really the only value we have to him is his speed. And every so often, he can kill a penalty. And, he's like your main guy out there on the penalty kill. And that's pretty much what's going to hurt the Penguins out of this deal. But it was definitely a smart move. Again, you were going to move on from him. He was most likely going to move on. I don't think Bluger will re-sign in Vegas, so this is clearly a rental. And I'm happy overall with what the Penguins return they got out of this. So we'll move on into the roster moves that's happened. And that is the Penguins have sent down defenseman Mark Freeman and Brock McGinn to Wilkes-Barre. And they brought up centerman Drake Caggiula from Wilkes-Barre to replace Bluger in a way as the Penguins want Ryan Poehling to be the new fourth-line center, but he's still hurt right now, so smart to call up Caggiula. So, Joey, what are your thoughts on these roster moves?
Yeah, definitely Caggiula getting caught up as well. If he's had a great year in Wilkes-Barre. I like what he does, and he's a young guy who has a lot of potential. And that's the thing the Penguins need to start doing here. So I'm going to start by this for a little bit here. The Penguins, what they've started to do is good for McGinn and also Friedman, especially McGinn, because he is kind of a nightmare out there. But they need to start calling some of these guys down and start calling up some of the Wilkes-Barre guys, and Kalinga is a good start. And I know some of the good ones are out right now, but there's guys like Nylander, Hollander, Steven, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, but that guy, the guy, of course, the crazy shot in Wilkes-Barre, if you've seen it, like, you know what I'm talking about. And then, of course, Pauline is out right now, but it's supposed to be back April 1st, from what I've heard. So we'll see. But I think these are both all these guys should be on that NHL roster right now. I think that whole bottom 6, I think nearly every single player on that team right now in the Penguins should not be there. I think the AHL guys should really be coming up to take over that. Honestly, if I was GM right now, that's what I'd be doing. Of course, the Carter is an interesting situation. You really can't get rid of him, sadly, which is kind of a problem. But you can always do what the Steelers do and force him into retirement, because they did that to Polamalu. So you can do it in football. Maybe try it in hockey on this just one occasion, all right? But yeah, no. But I think there's definitely guys you can move on to. Heinen, he is starting to be better again, which is good. Honestly, I like Heinen as a player. I think he's a good fit. I think just the people he's around is really just kind of hoarding him. Same thing like I said with like Bluger and Kapanen. I think that's kind of a similar situation here, in my opinion. But yeah, Poehling I do like. Archibald, I'm iffy on. I think an AHL guy could play better than him. Like, really just, out of this, like, bottom 6, the only guys I really think they should honestly keep is Poehling and Heinen. I think those are the only two ones in that bottom 6 that actually should be up there. I think the rest of them should be AHL, in my opinion. But that's just me. But Kalinga, well-deserved. Happy to see him get called up. McGinn, 10 down. I like that. He was not playing well. Maybe this gives him like a good lesson, and hopefully he comes back and realizes he needs to pick it up. And who knows? Maybe they call him back up and he gets back to what he's supposed to be. But as of right now, he's not what he's supposed to be, and he's been a nightmare on the ice. And then with Friedman here, here's my thing with Friedman. I feel like he's a guy who should get some opportunities. They just don't give it to him. this is kind of upon me. Like, I don't think Friedman's a bad player. I think he's an okay pickup. Like, he's an okay defenseman, good backup to have. But he is someone who I think probably should at least see a little more time so we know what exactly he is. Because when he plays, I think he does a decent job. Like, I haven't seen anything about him that's like, oh my lord, he's awful. Like, he's not a bad defenseman. It's just he doesn't have any opportunities here, and he just really is not being able to get those opportunities, and he's just kind of wasting a roster space right now. So it's good they brought him down. I think we'll see Friedman again here. I don't think this is the last time we see a Friedman. I think he'll be back up at some point here. But you also got to want now, because Ty Smith's going to be coming in here hopefully soon, because they really need to call him up, because this is getting ridiculous now on not calling up some of these prospects. But yeah, it's really interesting to think about. They definitely made the right moves when it came to calling up and calling down guys. I think they made the right choice there. Tyler, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it was smart sending both down. I'm surprised, but I'm also not surprised that no team wanted to pick them up. Especially if you're if you're a contender and you have that cap and you need depth in your lineup to fill, that almost like these two would be perfect. Two would be perfect players, because they got speed to their game. I mean, I know Bluger scored his first point in 27 games the other night against Nashville. So, I mean, I guess you're showing the Penguins like, hey, don't call me down yet. And Mark Freeman, I mean, he's pretty much just a healthy scratch all the time. It was just there for reliability, and the Penguins don't want to send him down for risk of waivers, but the Penguins finally did that, and I guess they both cleared, so now they're in Wilkes-Barre and Conjola. Here, I have his underlined stats for this season. Right now, in Wilkes-Barre this year, in 47 games, he has 12 goals, 25 assists, 37 total points, and has a plus-minus of +3. And right now, he's on pace to have 17 goals, 36 assists, and 53 points in 67 games. So that's his projected lines in Wilkes-Barre. And 53 points in 67 games, that's not too bad. And
yeah, that's something I think I'd take for sure.
And he has speed in his game. Great replacement right now in the lineup. But I would also like to see, I know Samuel Poulin, I'm pretty sure still on his leave of absence right now. But I would like to see him in that fourth line center role, like a few years down the road. And same with Alex Nylander being up and playing. He definitely deserves a chance up here in the NHL. But again, we're not really going to have this roster set in stone till Friday, because there's definitely going to be more deals done with that. And speaking of deals, oh boy, was Ronnie Hextall cooking up something fierce, I guess, because he probably traded for a player that no one quite expected, and has a lot of Penguins in rage and confusion. And that's an understatement, because like me and Joey, we totally do not like this move. This deal happened about an hour ago, where the Penguins send off a 2023 second-round pick to the Nashville Predators in exchange for forward Mikael Granlund. Joey, what's your thoughts on it?
Oh, Lord. All right. This is a horrible move. I don't know what the heck Hextall is thinking right now. I don't know if he's on something. He has to be on something. I don't know what the heck this is. Like, I didn't even think this guy was going to get traded. Like, I didn't even see any rumors whatsoever. Not even just to the Pens, just to anyone in general about this guy. And all of a sudden, like 20 minutes before it happens, we see this, and apparently it happens. This is craziness right now. Wow. He's not the worst player in the world, but he's not good. Like, his cap hit's way too high, in my opinion. I know they're looking for a third line center, and that's what he's gonna be, but you cleared all that cap for Bluger for that it's just no. It's awful. I don't know what the heck this is and what Hextall was thinking here, but this is one of the worst trades I've seen him make. I'm sorry, but there should have at least been retained salary. Like, they didn't even make Nashville retain any salary. And they gave a second round pick for the guy. Like, if you're going to sell your picks, sell them for something that's actually good. Not that. You need young talent in this team, and you go get and like, literally, that's what he said he was going to do when he came here. So he goes, but now he goes off and trades for a second round pick for a 31-year-old player who looks like he's toward the end of his career. And there's 2 more years left for him at $5 million per year cap hit. So, yeah. I hate the move, honestly. He's not the worst player in the points range. He has 36 in 58 games. That's not the worst. That's better than most for a bottom 6. I will give him that. But still, like, this is not the right move. This is a backwards move. But hopefully they do something here. Like, this, if this is really what it is for the deadline-wise, I would really heavily consider in the offseason making some big changes. And that starts first off with Hextall. And then that next thing I would do too here, I gotta think here, you need a young player on quick. I would turn your face to the draft here, and I would see how you could possibly trade up to get a good player. Because right now, with what they have here, they need a young guy who's a very good, high potential player. That is what will save them here, that honestly, in my opinion. Now, if they would get someone like Besser, which we'll talk about a little bit later here, that might change my perspective here. But what I see right now is you have to go out in the offseason and spend your first round picks, or you got to trade up in the draft to a high pick and get someone. Now, and that's going to be tough for the Penguins to do, but they're going to have to do one of the two here. I know Hextall doesn't want to trade those first round picks, but when you're a team like the Penguins in this position, you have to trade the first round picks. You're a buying, contending team. And the window's closing kind of fast here, so you need to make sure you can get as many deep playoffs ones as you possibly can, no matter the cost. Like, look what the LA Rams did. And it's a football example, but it still works, you know. They sold off a lot of their picks, but you know what they got? They got a world championship. They got a Super Bowl win. That's all that matters is winning a championship. That's what matters right now. The future, honestly, in my opinion, the Penguins-wise, is they have some decent prospects to begin with who are young, who can help them out. Like, I don't think they're entirely screwed after Crosby retires. Like, they're not going to be good, but, like, I don't think they'll be, like, rebuilding for, like, 5 years or anything. Like, they'll probably be, like, a 2-3 year rebuild, in my opinion, because they'll probably, knowing the Penguins, they'll luck into a guy like Crosby or Lemieux. But, yeah, no, it's, of course, I don't like this move. And waste cap, and now, if you're going to go get a guy like Besserwitz, I've been screaming for him to do ever since the season began, you gotta now trade someone like Pettersson, and that's a stupid decision. Like, Pettersson should be a lock to stay on this team. Honestly, if I'm them, I would hope they do decide to trade Petrie somewhere. I think if you're trying to make a big move, I think it has to be Petrie and Dumoulin who have to go, but knowing them, it'll probably be Pettersson, because Hextall is... But if you're gonna make moves like this, you're not getting another ring here, right? So let's say, no, you're not getting that, and you're not getting another one here. You're not getting another one here. Let's see. This one, maybe? No, you're not getting that. And then this here. Yeah, no thank you. Yeah.
I love the visual presentation.
Yeah, thanks. Like, you're screwing away wings here, honestly, and just, in general, it's like, what are you doing here, Hextall? That's my opinion, and if I could rip that down, I probably would, because that's a roller pen thing, but I'm not going to mess with that. But, yeah, no, but it's just, what are we doing here, Hextall? Like, this is a stupid move made by a man who clearly is either in over his head or is intentionally sabotaging the team because he's a flyer. I was always a little hesitant about Hextall when he was hired because of the whole flyer thing, and now my suspicions are being pretty much confirmed here. Like, I don't think this guy is capable of doing, like, the problem with him in Philly was, like, he got decent prospects. I will say that. He did build a decent prospect for him. The problem is he wouldn't trade his first-round picks. And by not buying, he kind of screwed over the team. They're like, that's why the Flyers are in the situation they are now. Is because he made some questionable decisions to say, you know, of course, Nolan Patrick. But there's also some other ones, too. He just wouldn't buy, and that was the problem. And that's kind of what plagued that team, though. And I think that's what he's doing right now with the Penguins, too. He just has not learned from his mistakes, and it's costing the Penguins mightily. Tyler, your thoughts?
Not a great trade. Not a great trade. I mean, sure, his line, his how he's playing. I mean, I guess what he's putting up is not bad. I mean, 36 points in 58 games. I mean, that's not bad, but it's who he's playing with. I mean, he is 31. He scored 9 goals this year, 27 assists.
Yeah.
He's on pace for 13 goals this season, which is not what you want for a guy who's making $5 million.
Oh, yeah, no, he's regressed mightily.
And his plus minus is minus 16 this year. It is horrendous. You want this guy? You guys think he's better than Jeff Carter? You're insane. I'd rather have Carter. His contract will expire before Granlund will, and Granlund's making more money than Jeff Carter is. I'd rather deal with Carter than this. I mean, if you look at his WAR percentile rank for Granlund, it's plummeted directly. It's like straight down. It goes down like an L and then shoots the whole way down like that. He's down to pretty much at the 0%, where he was at one point in his career around 70% in the WAR percentile rank. His offense has been straight. There's been no changes really from last year. Maybe a little bit of a slight increase. His defense has completely plummeted, and so is his finishing ability. His WAR percentage right now is 3%. For a guy you're paying $5 million for per year, it's not a great move. Now, I'm going to use this as a great segue into the next segment. His current contract is 3 years at $5 million per, which kind of fits the Penguins' timeline, and that's really the only way I can see this as a good thing. Is it fits the timeline, 3 years. That's when probably Crosby, Malkin, Letang retire, and there's one player right now who the Penguins have been in talks for who fits that timeline, and that is Brock Besser. And this is where we're going to jump right into the second segment. What players do we think the Penguins are going to be targeting at the trade deadline? Brock Besser. Great forward. He can play in your top 9, maybe even in the top 6 if you want. And his trade value is so low, so it shouldn't take much to get him. And, he fits your timeline right now. He's a young player. Sure, it might cost you Dumoulin or Pedersen, a first-round pick, whatever. But he's the right move. Joey, your thoughts on Brock Besser?
Yeah, I agree with you. One thing I will say here before we get into this is, you did say Crosby, Malkin, Letang, 3 years, then they retire. I don't think that's the timeline. I think it is a longer timeline than 3 years here. Because Letang just got signed for 6. I think Malkin, the way I know he's only 3, but the way he's playing, I would expect him, unless something radically changes right now, I'd expect him to still be playing at, not an insanely high level, but, at still an above-average level, because right now he's playing at a high level. I would expect him to get another contract extension, and I'd be very surprised if Crosby doesn't sign at least a 4 to 5 year deal, possibly 6 when he comes up. Because I feel like they may not retire together, in my opinion. I don't think it'll all be at 3 at the same time. I think there will be some points where some will stay. Because the thing of Crosby is, he is one of those few players that's like Gretzky, Letang. No, not Letang, Lemieux. And, Ovechkin, they kind of have some guys, they just don't really regress that much, ever. They're still insanely good. Crosby right now, if you look at him, he's going to get, 80 to 90 points this year, most likely. He's just one of those players who can consistently, even how old he is, will be an insanely elite player. And those guys just don't seem to regress that. It takes a while for them to regress. It can be, in their 40s till they regress. And I think Crosby, he still wants to play. I don't think he's not going to want to play anytime soon. So I think he is going to be there for a while. I could see him having a tenure like Lemieux, kind of. He's playing for a long, long time. To the point where, he'll probably play to the point where he can't play anymore. But, that's why I see Crosby. But going on to Bessel here, yeah, I think he is the perfect move to make. He's the guy I've been screaming about for them to, go out and get. Really, in my opinion, he is a guy who can open up your window for a lot longer of a time. I think he can extend the window they're contending, and I think he's a guy you can build around. Honestly, when it comes to the rebuild, when it happens, I think Besser is the guy you can rebuild from. Like, he is a guy that you can build around and have a good team. Like, is he a face of a franchise? No, but he is a foundation you can build a very good team on. Because he has insane talent. We've all seen in Vancouver. I think technically, if you put him with Crosby, because I think if he gets retired, he's going to be in the top 6, and either Zucker or Rustick is going to be put down to the third line, and I bet Cal goes with Malkin. But that's a very interesting move here. Like, I would say, not only does the top 6 improve immensely, but the bottom 6 now gets one of the top 6 players, which is going to help the bottom 6 out as well, which is good in my opinion. And the thing of Besser is, I think if you put Besser and Crosby together, it's going to be very interesting. Like, I think it could be, honestly, I know this is definitely a little crazy, but, like, it'd be like Malkin and Gensel. Like, it'd be having 2 Gensels on the same line, like, because he can score very well, and Besser can, and he's a very good passer. Like, and he's very young. So basically, I would say here, like, you could have the best top-line hockey if you got Besser, in my opinion. Now, Gensel does need to pick it up a little more here. Gensel does, but he's, overall, last few games, he's been back to his normal stuff. He hasn't been scoring as much, but like, he has had some good assists and stuff. He's been playing out there well. So he seems like he's finally getting out of that little slump. Still waiting on Rust here, so I do wonder, actually, would you consider trading Brian Rust? Because he has had a pretty down year. Would you consider that for best or one-for-one trade? I would honestly think about that. I don't think I'd do that. I would probably still keep Rust, but that is something to think about. That is food for thought here. Would that be actually a good decision? Because that may actually be a smart one. I don't think I'd personally do it, and I don't think the Penguins will. I'd be surprised if he gets shipped off, but it is something to think about. Is that too? Also, you could think here, what about I don't want to do. So this one is more like I would really not want to do it, but you could think here, what if you trade Zucker and you see if you can get some more picks with Besser? Like, see if you can get a nice second, and then you can use that second to trade up your first round pick or something like that. You can think about definitely moving some other guys as well here. Because I think right now, the way I see Besser is, compared to the right winger, like the wingers we have, the only ones I would rank on the same level as him is Gensel, Raquel, and Zucker. Those are the only 3 right now that I think, winger-wise, is on the same level, if not better. Rust, he just has had a down year. Like, if Rust, though he is starting to show up again here too, so hopefully that he's come back out, but they definitely need winger help, and he is winger help, in my opinion. Tyler, your thoughts?
I think Brock Besser is probably the best case scenario. I know that there was confusion on whether Penguins and the Canucks were talking about JT Miller or Brock Besser. Definitely pass on JT Miller. I don't want to deal with his contract extension. But to answer your question about trading Brian Rust, I don't think that's the best move. I think what your best move is to trade, because you're going to have to trade one of your players if you want Besser for your cap to work. I'd say you trade someone on the left side. Sure, it's pretty much going to come down to either Dumoulin or Pedersen, because then what you can do is you can take Ty Smith and kind of put him up full-time in the NHL, which is what I want to happen. I mean, Brock Besser, this year, 38 points in 52 games. He hasn't done overwhelmingly poorly in this year with the Canucks, and like, you could throw him in on that top line if you wanted to. Have a first line of, let's say, Getzel, Crosby, Besser. Second line, Zucker, Malkin, Raquel. And your third line, either Granlund or Jeff Carter as your center. And then you got Brian Rustin, whoever you want to throw on that left side. So, like, your top 9 would be looking pretty shabby. And definitely better.
Good. I would say that's a significant improvement of what we have right now. So maybe that's where Hextall is going here, because they are still blessedly talking with the Canucks here. Because I did see earlier, there were Besser talks still with the Penguins, still going on after the Granlund trade. It came from a source that was right about multiple things already. So that is why I would say put some trust into this report as well. And from what I saw, it sounded like Peterson was the main guy who would be going out. It doesn't seem like Dumoulin, but we'll have to wait and see on that. But
Yeah, we'll wait and see if the Penguins really try and make a move. And an interesting thing that I've gotten, I want to say it was Pierre LeBron who tweeted it. I could be wrong, but one saying that Mikael Granlund deal was a pivot by Pittsburgh, which really means is the Penguins were going after an already centerman, is my guess, and they had to pivot away from it to get Mikael Granlund. So basically what this sounds like is Granlund was a second option, and it really makes me wonder who was that first player. I know the Penguins were making a run at Chikrin, don't get me wrong. I do not think in that case was. I know the Sens got him. I knew it came down to Sens and Pens. Who's going to get him? Sens had the better offer, and if the Coyotes would have accepted that trade, the Coyotes would have to retain some salary, and they want no part of that. I know the Coyotes won the Penguins' 2025 first-round pick, which Ron Hextall was deep no, which I completely understand on that.
yeah, that one's a little over the top. I think if you would have given him 2023 and 2024, that's more reasonable in my opinion. I'd say 2025 on. Until we get to the 2024 season, I would not touch that pick. I would like to see what we are next year. If we're really good next year, I say do it. If not, I'm like, let's keep that one. Let's keep that in 26 and just go from there after the next year. See what we can do.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, it makes me wonder who the Penguins were going for originally to kind of pivot their way over to Granlund. And what comes to mind first are guys like Adam Henrique, Max Domi is another one that comes to mind. I know the Penguins had some interest in Max Domi, and basically, hang on, I lost my train of thought here. So I guess pretty much I can see Ron Hextall. He's like, oh, this isn't gonna work out. I'm gonna pivot my way over, call down south to Nashville and pick up Mikael Granlund. And I mean, Ron Hextall, listen, he might have a total different perspective of what Mikael Granlund's game is. I'm just a guy who likes to critique people. And if I don't like something, I'm going to say it. And I guess there's no control of what I have over what Ron Hextall will do. But again, it's just such an interesting move with Granlund. So, other players I can see the Penguins going after a goalie soon because DeSmith has been really inconsistent with his play. So, I think I know Jonathan Quick's on the market right now. Kevin Velimaki or Vijelkama in Arizona, he's on the market. There's players. John Gibson is too, but that's a little too overpricey, and I don't want to deal with that stuff. But Joey, is there a player that kind of screams oh, he can be a Penguin besides Brock Besser? I know we talked about him a lot, but is there any other players that you think the Penguins could make a run at before Friday's deadline?
I think definitely Quick is the one that I would look at goalie-wise. I think they're going to go after. I think they've already been in some talks with them. Now, I would definitely wonder here if they would think about taking a look at Montreal. I think there are some innocent pieces in Montreal they could look at. I know definitely right now I would say looking at Sean Monahan, there'd be a lot of retained salary, I think. And he is hurt, but before he did get hurt, he was producing very well. I think he'd be a very good piece to have on, say, a third or fourth line, because he was doing very good this year. I would be interested in seeing what the Habs have, honestly. I would look there. I'm kind of a little bummed that Ellis wasn't there. I would have looked at Lost Ellis from Washington. Honestly, I would bet that's who they're looking at before Granlund, in my opinion. That's probably who they were looking at. Because I think definitely that was the best option third line center-wise, in my opinion. But I also would maybe look at Edmonton, see if they're willing to trade off a piece or two. I don't know if they are or not. Like, see if they're willing to trade any depth here, because they did already trade Poyavi to Carolina. So I would look into that. I think Calgary, actually, I would look there. That is the interesting one, because they are in the middle between, like, are they selling or are they buying? So I think you may be able to buy something from them for a decent price. Because they're kind of in the middle. They're like, we don't know exactly what we want to do. I think you could probably find something there. I'm not sure what exactly it would be. I'd have to look better into that. But I would say that's a place you can look. There's a lot of the Western Conference teams I would really look at. Coyotes, they're still missing stuff they like to look at. You could look at, I think, honestly, with them. And last one I'd really look at is, I would say Chicago. If there's anything left in Chicago, I would see if you can get that. I don't think there really is, but you can definitely at least take a look and see what's there. Tyler, any more thoughts here?
I know when you said Arizona, it kind of screamed Nick Schmaltz to me.
Yeah, that's
Personally.
what I'm thinking. Schmaltz, yeah.
And really what you got to look is you got to look at the teams that won't be contending in this year's playoffs. That's where you got to look for these players. And, like, I know Philadelphia is selling hard. I know there was talk on JVR coming here. And, you know, just players like that. I know Ivan Provorov's being shopped. There's no chance the Penguins go for him right now. Although it does intrigue me that the Penguins wanted to get Chychrun, that, you know, they could pivot their way over to Philly and try and scoop up Provorov. I don't think that's the case, but...
Yeah, I don't think so. I think if the Pens go defense, they wait for the offseason, and I think they do trade there if they're going to really go to defensemen. Because I would look to see, once the offseason ends, are there any other young defensemen you can trade for? I think there'll probably at least be one who show up. I am a little bummed when Musa Sandin did get traded to Boston. That's a guy I'm very high on. And I probably would have looked at him and Chychrun both at the same time and tried to get one of the two. I do hold him in that regard as high as Chychrun, in my opinion. I think they're both insanely good. But I would say, defensively, wait till the offseason to see what you can get there. I would wonder if Hughes, even though he may not be available now, Quinn Hughes, if he's available in the offseason, I think he's a can't-miss guy the Pens have to get. Like, I would say if you would buy for him, and it'd be 2 to 3 first-round picks, but, like, what you would get is one of the best defensive players in the league, and pairing him with what we have, like, that would instantly make you, I wouldn't say a favorite in the East, but you would be a top 3 favorite in the East, because you can't really defend against that defensive core, in my opinion. Like, that'd just be a tough one to, take care of. But you gotta have to wait till the offseason to see what all defensively is available. And I would say if the Pens look high ceiling, very young. That's what I look at from the Pens.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's all we have on just players. We'll see what the Penguins want to do. Definitely, I would assume at least 2 trades minimum will happen before the 3 p.m. deadline on Friday. So moving on to the final segment of today's episode, we're going to look at the game preview between the Penguins and the Lightning. And, this is a team the Penguins just beat last week. Correct me if I'm wrong, 7-3 final, I'm pretty sure, is what it was. I mean, Tampa Bay sitting 3rd place in the Atlantic, Pittsburgh 5th. So Pittsburgh's still in the wild card hunt, can potentially move up to the top wild card spot in this. But points-wise, Kucherov leads for Lightning. Crosby leads for Pittsburgh with 45. Goals-wise, Crosby leads with 27. For Tampa, Braden Point with 37. And then Crosby also leads the team in assists with 45. And Kucherov with 63. And then, obviously, we know Paling's out with injury. Friedman got sent down. And then for the Lightning, Bogosian's day-to-day. And so is Eric Chernak. But, Joey, who do you think's going to win this game?
I'm going to go to the Penguins here. For some reason, Tampa Bay has had some definite struggles against the Penguins the last 2 years here. They have a tough time beating the Penguins for some reason. I'm not sure what exactly causes them these issues. But the Penguins, they've won 3 straight. They beat the crap out of this team. Not last game, but the game before that. So I would say, I'm not going to say it's going to be like last game, but I would say Penguins win probably by 2 scores, so I would say, if I'm betting right, 4-2. I would give a goal. I mean, I'd give one to Malkin, one to. I feel like Rust is gonna score a goal. I'll go him, and then I would say a Crosby goal and a Gensel goal. I think top 6 can do this.
Who's getting the first one?
First one, Malkin. I'm gonna go with Malkin Hill.
Yeah, good pick. In my opinion, the only way it's going to stop in the Penguins' way is Andrei Vasilevsky, who I have the projected starters, Jari versus Vasilevsky. I mean, Jari, 18-7-5, has one shutout this year, 273 goals against average and a 918 save percentage. On the other hand, Andrei Vasilevsky, 28-15-2, 2 shutouts, a 256 goals against average and a 919 save percentage. So that's going to be what the only thing. I mean, last time we played Tampa, it was the backup. So obviously you're going to think, ooh, high scoring game. You know, so there's definitely going to be a lower end of the spectrum. Personally, I think.
Actually, Tyler, I think actually it was Vasilevsky that game. Then he got pulled. I think it was Vasilevsky.
What? I don't think it was because Vasilevsky played the previous night in Detroit. So I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, Brian Elliott played. No, but I mean, looking at the Penguins' projected lines, I mean, right now, I mean, I guess it's going to be all scrambled up based on these really recent roster moves, but lineups for lines for Penguins wise, expect Getzel, Crosby, Raquel, Zucker, Malkin, Rust, Granlund, Carter, and Heinen on the third line, and Drew O'Connor, Kajula, and Archibald on the fourth line. Defensive pairings-wise, Dumoulin and Letang, Pedersen, Petrie, and POJ and Ruda with Jari in the cage. And again, this would all be pending on if the Penguins make a move before the 7 p.m. puck drop tomorrow at Amalie Arena in Tampa Bay. And based on those lines, it's kind of weird that they're going to put Granlund with Jeff Carter, but since Danton Heinen has played on Carter's line these past few games, Jeff Carter's probably played some of the best hockey he has all season playing with Danton Heinen. I don't know what the connection is, but it's definitely working. Hopefully, Mikael Granlund can jump on that line and stuff. And I'd like to say the new guy scores tomorrow. Hopefully, Granlund will be in Tampa to make his debut. But this is my bold prediction. Mikael Granlund is going to score.
That's pretty bold.
He's going to score against the Lightning. I'm going 3-1 Penguins. Goals by Granlund. Raquel is definitely due, and I'm going to go Brian Rust as well. And Jari is going to make 30 plus saves. That's my.
Yeah, I would agree with that. 30 plus saves, Jari. Yeah. I think both
that's my
30 plus.
That's my take for that one. And then Lightning lines wise, first line of Killorn, Point, Kucherov. Second line, Hagel, Cirelli, Stamkos. Third line, Tanner Jeannot should be making his debut tomorrow so he'll be on line 3 with Nick Paul and Ross Colton. And on the fourth line, Maroon, Belmar, and Perry. Defensively, Hedman, Bogosian. Second pairing, Sergachev and Perbix. And the third pairing being Cole and Chernak. And then Vasilevsky in the cage. And then lastly, I want to hit the betting lines for this one presented by Caesar Sportsbook. The line, Tampa Bay at minus 165, and the over-under is 6.5. So it looks like the betting odds are leaning towards Tampa Bay's favor. But again, Tampa Bay has struggled really mightily against the Pittsburgh Penguins. So, Joey, final thoughts?
One last thing I will add here. It is March, just to let you know. So the Penguins traditionally do very well in March. So that's no factor to play into this year. They do normally do extremely well in March.
You are absolutely right. The Penguins do. I remember their 2013 March run. They went the perfect 15-0. Penguins always play really well in the month of March. And I totally forgot. It is March now. So before we end, Joe, you want to plug in your your social media, your podcast. Where can they find you?
Oh, yeah, awesome. Yeah, so I have a YouTube channel, and I have a podcast show called The Joey Orsborn Show. The podcast can be found in video form on YouTube, on my YouTube channel of the same name, which is The Joey Orsborn Show. We also have it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Google Podcasts as well. And if you use Anchor FM as your listening thing, which I don't think anyone does, but it's also on there as well. So yeah, you can check out a lot of videos I have. I just have a new hockey one up today about this. Of course, I mentioned Chickwin, and that was before he got traded, and this whole Granlund thing happened. But yeah, you can definitely check that out. It's a good video. I have all sorts of stuff, especially NFL-wise. You like NFL, have a lot of that. And baseball season is coming up here soon, so expect a lot of fun baseball stuff. Yeah, but if you enjoyed what you heard here today, just come and check out my channel. I'm sure you'll be very pleased. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I don't know when the next episode is going to be. I'm hopefully going to make one Friday night at after the trade deadline. I am working at the Peterson Event Center Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So, Joey, thank you for coming on, getting this podcast back up and running after these changes and everything. So, hopefully, Ron Hextall gets back to work really quickly after what he's done tonight, and hopefully he's cooking up a Brock Besser piece. Boy, would I love to see that number 6 again. Just like how Marino wore it for so long back in a Penguins uniform. So, fingers crossed, I'm hoping for it. So, so that is all we have for today's episode. Have a great day, everybody, and let's go, Pens.